there's a really interesting big question to ask about, can fortification be done in a more strategic way to improve like health in a really broad, like public health type way? All right, hit me, producer Potts.
All right, Dr. Sarah, this is a big question.
Okay.
Um, Two things being true at the same time is really tricky within the wellness community. That can be very black or white. And I think this topic needs some Dr. Sarah insight to help us wrap our minds around these two things being true.
Okay.
So, you have spoken about how multivitamins, while being health neutral, don't improve certain health markers as we would expect them to. However, on the flip side, we do see fortified foods as a positive step to help avoid nutrient density. So, here's where the question comes in. I've seen a lot of people recently on your social media where this really seems to be a sticking point for them, primarily those who see supplementing as a healthy addition to the diet and fortified foods as something to be avoided. Can you help us square that?
Yeah, this is a fantastic question. I have seen this exact same thing, right? So this embracement of supplements in the sort of wellness community at large, despite the lack of scientific studies supporting the benefits of especially multivitamins. Obviously, when we get into individual supplements, the quality of like the scientific evidence varies dramatically from supplement to supplement, and we could probably launch an entire YouTube channel where we just talk about a different supplement every week, and I'm not interested in doing that, just so that we're clear. Um, but yeah, this demonization of fortified foods. I so let's big picture. Let's make a little commentary on the wellness community and the demonization of accessible, affordable foods. Like, I think that's a really important place to start, because one of the things that I've observed over the last almost 13 years, talking about nutrition online, is this continuous raising of the bar, right? So we're going to make however we define healthy diet, right? Different diets define a healthy diet differently. We're gonna rate set this bar here. Oh wait, you've got all that? Okay, well now you have to be afraid of these more things that you're eating, and now you have to buy this like more expensive thing, this more niche thing, this harder to find thing. Now you need this like $300 a month supplement, and there's this every time the something gets popular enough that it's like attracting a lot of people, it feels like the bar is raised to make wellness more privileged, more like a harder thing to achieve, something that is less accessible. And that is not supported by the scientific literature. The scientific literature shows that a healthy diet and health promoting behaviors, like obviously they're not the only things that influence health. We also have social determinants of health. We have genetics, right? There's other things that are influencing health other than our day-to-day choices. And there are things that make certain day-to-day choices not accessible for people, like whether or not you live close to a grocery store is going to influence what types of foods you can eat. How many jobs you need to work to make ends meet is going to influence how much time you have for activity or sleep, right? So the health equation is really complex. But one of the things that the wellness community does is kind of propel an elitism with health, right? And a false one, right? One that by raising the bar, by making the things that you're expected to do to be healthy, make them this much more expensive or take this much more time in the kitchen. It is this like constant making making the things that you're being sold to do for your health, making them just like putting them on the higher shelf. And it's this constant like, oh wait, you could reach that shelf. Okay, I'm going to build another shelf and put all these things on that even higher shelf. So it's something that we're constantly chasing, and that is the economy of the wellness community. That is the economy of diet culture. that the economy is reliant on you continuing to chase that next thing, to spend your money on that next thing in order for people to continue making money. So that's the broader commentary on where these types of myths are coming from, right?
Okay.
They're coming from a place of demonizing accessible, affordable foods because the economy of wellness relies on you spending more money and going to greater lengths to get whatever is the deemed substitute, right? The science shows that multivitamins don't improve cardiovascular disease incidence or mortality, cancer incidence or mortality, or all-cause mortality, even though you would expect that increasing nutrient intake does. Science doesn't have a really good answer for why. And I think making sure that we're really clear, that doesn't mean that taking a multivitamin is harmful. Getting too much supplementary calcium doesn't seem to be great. Other than that, there doesn't seem to be any harm of taking a multivitamin. But if you're choosing between those funds going towards a multivitamin or going towards whole foods, your money is better spent buying whole foods, because we do see the expected benefits when you're getting those nutrients from foods. Fortified foods do have a really good track record for 3 health outcomes. So they have greatly reduced the risk of goiter, so an enlargement of the thyroid gland due to iodine deficiency. They have greatly reduced the risk of iron deficiency anemia, and they have greatly reduced the risk of neural tube defects. Those are like the big wins of fortified foods. There's lots of fortification other than iodine, iron, and folate. So those are more in that amorphous gray of like, there's no signal, same as the multivitamins. But there's no harm either, right? And there are some really important wins for fortified foods in terms of measurable health improvements. So I think probably one of the differences is like why fortified foods are showing these benefits where supplements are not, is in the bioavailability of the forms. When you even though it's the same form that's incorporated into breakfast cereal versus a multivitamin tablet.
Okay.
Eating it as part of breakfast cereal, you're getting all of your digestive processes are going, right? You're breaking down lots of different aspects of that breakfast cereal, the milk that you poured on it, maybe you added some fruit, right? So your digestion tends to be really efficient. Whereas when you pack it all into a tablet, you kind of have to break down that tablet. And studies show that especially tablets, capsules aren't quite as bad, but tablets can take too long to break down on the digestive tract. So they've missed their opportunity to be absorbed because different nutrients are absorbed in different parts of the digestive tract. So a lot of it is going straight through us. And that's because you're packing in all that same nutrition that you would have gotten in that whole bowl into a tiny little pill. So I think that is the most likely explanation for why there's a difference between a multivitamin being beneficial and a fortified food. But big picture, look, studies show that higher diet quality improves the full range of health outcomes other than genetic diseases, right? So just about everything that can go wrong with us health-wise is improved by higher diet quality. Is diet a cure? Absolutely not. Again, there's so many different things influencing our health beyond our day-to-day choices. We can't say that same statement for a multivitamin. Can we say that same statement for whatever, other supplement? It depends. Again, we could probably do a video for every single supplement out there, and we would still be doing this in 10 years, right? That could be a whole channel.
That we don't want to do. We're not doing that.
No. So, depending on the supplement, yes, I think vitamin D is great for people with low vitamin D levels. Like there's a time and a place for supplements. Supplements, though, should be something that you are not buying from a diet guru or a wellness influencer. You should be talking to your doctor and having a conversation about your health goals and concerns, your test results, your family history, your individual medical history, and deciding with your doctor whether or not a supplement is going to benefit you. There's a lot of supplements that are marketed at us along with fear, right? Like the predatory marketing strategy in the wellness community right now is like show the problem, and then sell the solution, right? So
right.
The problem is usually this fear created around foods. The science doesn't support that fear, right? It's be afraid of fortification. But take my multivitamin that has the exact same chemicals in it. That is the level of cognitive dissonance that's happening in the wellness community right now. And again, I'm not saying that all supplements are bad. Multivitamins in most cases are not harmful. And there are some niche, more niche health measures where a multivitamin may be beneficial for some people, like not looking at the big cardiovascular disease, cancer, all-cause mortality. For example, older adults may benefit from B complex supplements in terms of their cognition, right? So there's so many different, there's so much.
But that's the thing to do with your doctor. You shouldn't just take a supplement because you think you should because someone's marketing it to you. However, you could definitely go enjoy your bowl of Cocoa Puffs and not have to worry about it.
Yes. So you can't have this conversation about what the benefits and limits are of fortified foods. I think fortified foods are fascinating. Scientifically, we only fortify with B vitamins, iron. Some foods are fortified with calcium, vitamin D, and iodine, right? There's so many nutrients we don't fortify with. And I think there's a really interesting question to ask of in our current food supply, where many people are getting too much energy from the foods they're eating and not enough essential nutrients, right? Not enough vitamins, minerals, protein, fiber, certainly not enough phytonutrients.
And can I point out that they're also missing out on the joy because most of us feel guilty when we eat too much of those foods. So then it's like we're just it's even worse, right? Versus if you come to a place where you don't feel guilty about foods and you just enjoy that food for what it is, then that has to have an impact on our health, I would imagine, because there's a stress component to that, right? So
absolutely. Now, part of that stress response too can be if we're talking about ultra processed foods, there is some research. This is definitely contested in the science about whether or not food addiction is a real thing. But there's definitely some dopamine response things happening with ultra processed foods that is not the same type of response that you get when you're eating an apple or a salad, right? So it is how much of our food supply is ultra processed right now is a challenge, because a diet that is overabundant in ultra processed foods, which means more than 20% of our calories coming from ultra processed foods, does increase risk of health problems. 20% and below does not increase risk of health problems. So there's absolutely room in a healthy diet for these foods. But when the diet is overabundant in ultra processed foods, we start to see risk of these health problems crop up. And it's most likely because those foods are falling short of meeting our nutritional needs. So what if we fortified them? And what if we fortified them with more nutrients so that when we were eating those types of foods, we actually were meeting our nutritional needs? We do not know what the population level effect on health of that type of fortification program would be, because that experiment has never been done. But I think that is, when we're talking about making health accessible and affordable, and something that somebody who doesn't live close to a grocery store is still able to eat a diet that meets their nutritional needs, that's a really interesting strategy.
Because they can't afford the fancy supplements anyways.
Right.
Right?
Or
Like,
even potentially the apple. Do you know what I mean? Like a fresh
Right.
food is much more expensive than ultra processed foods. So I think, there's a really interesting big question to ask about, can fortification be done in a more strategic way to improve like health in a really broad, like public health type way? That's a really interesting question. We cannot even start exploring that if we're so stuck on the elitism, the healthism of, yeah, but fortification is, right? Like,
bad, but my supplements are good.
Right.
When,
so,
yeah.
yeah. So I think, I think as like the place to wrap up this question is like, how do you, I don't know if this was the follow-up question you were going to ask, Producer Potts, but I think the question is like, how do you identify when somebody is trying to make you afraid of a food unnecessarily to sell you their solution, right? Like, how do you make yourself more immune to that, the person putting the health back up on the higher shelf, and you
Right.
being able to say, actually, no, I don't need to reach that because I happen to know there's more health over here in this cupboard that's reachable. I've really taken this analogy far too far, but
I think it's like people that speak in absolutes, right?
for sure. I would say, it's not, because I would recommend a product that I truly believe in, right? And think the science is there and take myself. So I don't think it's that somebody's recommending a product. I don't think that is automatically a red flag.
Right.
But if that's wrapped up in be afraid of something.
Yeah, if you're using fear to sell something, the thing you're selling probably isn't that great if you need to make people afraid of something
Right.
else to buy your product.
If
So I
you
think
need to
that's,
bash your competitor's product in order to sell your own, your product's
yeah.
not that good. Tell
And
me
if your
why
competitor
products
is
fit.
Whole Foods, there you
Right.
go.
If your
Not
competitor is
not the
breakfast
grocery
cereal,
store,
come
but
on.
the food that we're eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
I think, it's one of the reasons why, um, you know, uh, I have so many like really detailed articles that have dozens, if not hundreds of citations on the website. It's why there's 42 pages, I think, of references in my book, is because I want to give people the information that they need to be able to really understand what nutrients do in the body, what foods have what nutrients, like where do our nutrients come from, and understand these types of nuances of like, it's okay to eat fortified foods, but you can't supplement your way out of a poor quality diet with a multivitamin. Like understanding those bits of pieces and being able to go read the studies that help to support that important information. Like a really important goal of this book is to give people the knowledge base they need to be able to hear that type of a sales pitch that is selling the product conditioned on you believing the misinformation about an accessible, affordable food.
Right.
And be able to see that for what it is, predatory marketing.
Right. No, I love this. I appreciate you giving your, like I said, Sarah insight to this really big thing that I just constantly see come up. So thank you. And you do cover a lot of this in your book. So everyone should go get Dr. Sarah's book, Nutrivore, because she goes over and basically like breaks down diet culture. It's pretty fantastic. I'm listening to the audio version right now. It's really great. But yeah, Sarah, where can someone ask if they have more questions like this that they want to have you tackle? Where can they ask these questions for you to answer?
The big philosophical questions.
Yeah.
So we prioritize answering questions from our Patreon community, specifically the Super Nerds and Pros tier have a suggestion box every single month where they can put in their questions. And I make Q&A videos for the Patreon every single week. But I know that you're also taking these questions from there to ask me. But you can also put your question, just comment it below. Because we also take questions from social media. We also look at frequently asked questions. We also look at what the community's talking about and whether or not commentary is needed. So priority goes to Patreon, but that's not the only way to get your questions answered. So you can also just pop it below, and you know, we reread all of those comments. So pop it below. If it's something really simple, maybe I'll just answer it right there in the comment section. You never know.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah.
Thank you.